It didn't stop with anger, it stopped with silence. There was a time your birthday felt like light, balloons trembling on a string, frosting on small hands, everyone's laughter stitched around your name. You didn't wish for attention, you were attention. Then the years blurred, the candles became notifications, the song became a vibration in your pocket. You say you don't celebrate anymore. You call it practicality, you call it adulthood. But some nights, when the house is quiet, you still glance at the calendar, half expecting the day to glow a little differently. A leftover slice of cake in the fridge, a text you almost sent to yourself. You tell the world it's just another day, but somewhere inside, a child still waits. For someone to look up, for someone to smile, for someone to remember. Somewhere along the way, your birthday stopped feeling personal and started feeling optional, not erased, just quietly downgraded. Not forgotten, just easier to ignore. That shift didn't happen because you changed. It happened because you adapted. You became the one who remembers everyone else, even when remembering you felt like an afterthought. So you told people it doesn't matter anymore. You packaged detachment as maturity, as humility, as adulthood. But beneath the calm explanation was a quiet kind of self-protection, the kind built from silence, not strength. You stopped waiting for celebration because waiting hurt more than the absence of it. You lowered your expectations to protect the parts of you that still hoped. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, but to you, it felt more like managing disappointment before it had a chance to bloom. You learned to keep your hopes thin because thin things bend instead of breaking. You told yourself you'd outgrown celebration when really you had outgrown the pain of expecting too much. Independence wasn't something you chose, it was something you rehearsed, year after year, moment after moment, until it felt natural. So you turned inward, you learned to soothe yourself, to shrink your needs, to take pride in how little you seem to require. That's the strange paradox. You wanted to be seen, so you trained yourself to disappear without anyone noticing. Birthdays became a performance, a quiet test of how convincingly you could say, "Oh, nothing special," but there's always a pulse beneath the performance, a small flicker of wanting, not for celebration, but for recognition, for someone to notice that you still mark the day, even if you don't announce it anymore. Because indifference isn't the absence of care, it's care that learned to hide where it can't be disappointed. And in that quiet hiding place, you began mistaking protection for peace. Here's a certain heaviness that arrives long before your birthday does. Not sadness, just a familiar shift in the air. An old memory brushing past your shoulder, quiet but unmistakable. You've learned to live with that silence. You've even convinced yourself it's easier this way. But silence has a memory of its own. It stores every wish you never spoke and every moment you lowered your expectations to survive another year. You stopped reminding people. You stopped expecting the call. You told yourself you preferred the quiet, the control, the predictability, the lack of surprises. But control always charges a fee. It trades joy for stability and excitement for safety. It builds a polished wall around you so clean you can almost see your reflection in it, a version of you who learned not to hope too loud. You wear composure like armor. People call it strength. They don't see the small tremor that hits when someone says, "I forgot." And you smile as though it didn't sting. The truth is, you never stopped caring. You just stopped revealing the places where care could hurt you. You mistook emotional containment for peace, when really it was just everything held tightly in place. Some pains don't end, you simply grow familiar with them. You adapt so well that even disappointment becomes predictable. You call it growth, but your mind knows it's really calibration. You learn to dim excitement before it sparks, to lower your pulse around hope, so the aftershock of being unseen won't crush you again. And yet, every year, something inside still stirs. A heartbeat when the month begins. A subtle shift when you see someone post a candle emoji. You scroll past it, but your body notices. It always does. You've become fluent in pretending the day is ordinary. You measure maturity by how little it hurts, but numbness isn't mastery. It's memory disguised as calm. You didn't build this quiet to find peace. You built it to survive tenderness. You taught yourself to want less, but wanting has never been weakness. It's the pulse of being alive. So, when the day arrives and you feel nothing, don't mistake that stillness for healing. Sometimes it's just your emotions catching their breath before they return. Even silence remembers what your heart tried to forget. Some patterns don't form inside you, they form around you. And this one isn't just personal, it belongs to a whole generation that learned to shrink celebration into subtlety. There was a time birthdays meant belonging. They were small rituals that whispered, "You matter," because we all agree you do. But adulthood rewired the script. Now we trade gatherings for calendars, presents for productivity, connection for convenience. Joy started feeling impractical. We called that shift maturity when it was really exhaustion wearing polite clothes. We decided enthusiasm looked childish and wanting to be seen looked needy. So we tucked our excitement away, as if being unbothered made us wiser. In a world that rewards composure, vulnerability started feeling unsafe. And if you grew up being the reliable one, the steady one, the giver, the emotional anchor, your mind learned a quiet hierarchy. Others first, you later. Joy became something you rationed. You forgot the spark that once lived in anticipation, the pulse under your skin the night before something mattered. And now, even if someone offered to plan something big, you'd hesitate, caught between wanting it and doubting you deserve it. That's the paradox of modern adulthood. We crave recognition while rehearsing indifference. The culture calls that balance, but often it's just fatigue disguised as emotional discipline. The truth is, we all want to be remembered, not loudly, not publicly, but intentionally. We want someone who still sees the quiet version of us, the one who no longer announces their needs. Because celebration was never about the party, it was about acknowledgement, and pretending we've outgrown that only widens the emotional distance we already feel. So when someone says, "I don't really do birthdays anymore," sometimes what they really mean is, "I forgot how to let life clap for me." And maybe the real maturity isn't silence. It's giving yourself permission to matter again. Time never announces its lessons. It just moves, quietly rearranging the shape of who you think you are. Birthdays carry that reminder more than any other day, not because of the number, but because of the mirror it holds up. You glance at the date and feel the ghost of the person you once expected to become, the version of you who thought things would make more sense by now. You scroll through old photos and see the earlier self who believed milestones were proof of progress. But growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like surviving a year that would have broken a past version of you. You say it's just another day, but another part of you knows it's more than that. It's a checkpoint between who you were and who you're becoming. So you start measuring differently, not by candles or celebrations, but by the quiet ways you stayed alive, even when you felt undone. You stop chasing validation that doesn't feel like home anymore. Still, the questions arrive without invitation. Am I where I thought I'd be? Have I grown, or have I just grown quieter about my pain? There's no neat answer, because self-awareness isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's mourning. Mourning the timeline you imagined. Mourning the certainty you once carried. The mind tries to protect you by minimizing the day, but the body knows more. It feels the weight of time in your breath, your bones, your quiet realizations. You avoid the day to stay grounded, yet grounding can feel like gravity, steady, heavy, relentless. And here's the truth no one mentions. You don't notice time passing until you realize you're no longer waiting for anyone to remember. Birthdays stop being about numbers when you start counting meaning instead. You ask fewer questions like, "What did I achieve this year?" and more like, "Who did I become?" Because maybe the real gift of another year isn't accomplishment, it's permission. permission to exist without performing, permission to keep unfolding even when no one is watching. Maybe the point was never perfection. Maybe it was simply becoming someone who still chooses to continue. Not everyone celebrates loudly. Some people choose a different kind of birthday, one that looks silent from the outside but feels honest on the inside. For them, quiet isn't detachment, it's alignment. It's the decision to stop chasing applause that fades by morning. They're practicing a softer kind of joy, the kind that doesn't need witnesses to be real. But even peace has an undercurrent. Silence isn't empty. It's a conversation between the heart and everything it has survived. You tell yourself the calm feels good, and sometimes it does, but sometimes calm is just exhaustion, learning how to sit gracefully. And strength, the kind people praise you for, is often a skill built from too many lonely victories. You've become fluent in composure. It's the language of someone who stopped expecting rescue. You learn to self-soothe, to self-parent, to self-celebrate because no one else knew how to hold those moments for you. But even self-sufficient people carry a quiet wish that someone might one day see past the armor. Because independence isn't always freedom. Sometimes it's grief that learned discipline. You don't reject celebration because you've outgrown it. You reject it because being seen now feels foreign, like stepping back into a version of yourself who once waited and got hurt. You say you don't want attention, but you still glance at your phone more than usual. You still check who remembered, who reached out unprompted, who still sees you even when you're not performing importance. That quiet checking, it's not weakness, it's humanity. No matter how evolved you think you've become, you never outgrow the need for connection. You just get better at disguising it. The mind insists the day doesn't matter, but the heart keeps a ledger of every moment it felt invisible. And even if you forgive it all, there's still a small flicker inside asking, will anyone notice this time? It's not a demand, it's a longing, the kind that grows quietly but never disappears. So, when you tell yourself you've stopped caring, maybe the truth is simpler. You care, but you're tired of the cost. That's the quiet rebellion of adulthood, choosing calm over chaos, stillness over show, self-trust over dependency. But deep down, you still hope someone will meet you halfway. Because emotional independence was never meant to replace connection, only to teach you how to hold yourself until it arrives. And maybe the bravest rebellion of all is admitting you still want to be seen. You don't need a celebration to prove you matter. You don't need noise to feel seen. Sometimes the quietest birthdays are the ones where you finally hear yourself again. Not the version shaped by expectations or disappointments or the weight of being the strong one, but the version that's still learning, still soft, still becoming. Maybe this year your only gift is presence, a moment to breathe, a moment to acknowledge the person you fought to grow into. And maybe that's enough, because even if no one else says it, you made it through another year, and that deserves a quiet kind of gratitude. This isn't the end of celebration, it's the beginning of remembering yourself.